So in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Kansas City Chiefs drafting Trent McDuffie. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's get right into the video. So this was not a position that I fully thought the Chiefs would end up taking in the first round of this year's draft. I thought they would end up taking edge rusher and a wide receiver, but the way that the draft board just panned out with wide receivers, and it just went absolutely insane in that middle of the draft. Like, it was hard to keep up at times with the way this draft was starting to pan out. It was a ton of fun to, watch and listen, but this draft just went absolutely insane in the middle portion of this year's draft, and that's when all the wide receivers started to get taken off the board. George Pickens, as I'm recording this, is still on the board, and teams could take them in the second day or the third day of the draft. But as of right now, the Chiefs obviously didn't take them, but the main top wide receivers were taken off the board. It got crazy, and I really didn't expect the Chiefs to make a dramatic move into the first top handful of picks to be able to take one of those top guys. So when it did come time for them to make their selection, they didn't end up taking a wide receiver in the first round, which is perfectly fine. The Chiefs, I thought, nailed the first round of this year's draft. So let's look at their first round selection of Trent McDuffie. The Chiefs traded up with the New England Patriots. The Chiefs gave up the 29th pick that they got from Miami when they traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. So they just used that pick, traded it up with the New England Patriots to move up to 21, and then the Patriots received the Chiefs 29th, 94th, and 121st pick. So at the end of the day, the Chiefs really didn't lose much. They kind of just turned around, took that Dolphins pick that they got, and a few later round picks, moved up and took Trent McDuffie. Now, Trent McDuffie is a corner out of Washington. He's 5'11", 193 pounds, and from what I read, he is comparable to Jair Alexander, which, if that's the case, he is going to be an absolute stud on this defense. You look at Jair Alexander and what he's done in Green Bay, being one of the best cornerbacks in the entire league. He's going to be a stud for this Chiefs defense. He's going to be a really great player for the Chiefs. Now, the only thing that's kind of the downside is his size. He's 5'11", 193 pounds, so he's not on the bigger side. And you look at some of the guys that he's going to have to defend on a weekly basis, especially in the division. You have Darren Waller that he might have to defend it. There's guys that he's going to face up where he's not going to have the size advantage, but I think his traits on the football field is really going to be good for him, and he might be just fine. The lack of size that he has, he's still going to be able to make plays all over the football field. He was a top 10 prospect nationally going into college. And then if we look at some stats that he had while in college, he had a 44% completion percentage allowed in coverage in 2021. So he was pretty much a lockdown corner. He only allowed quarterbacks to complete 44% of their passes when he was the main defender around the targets the quarterbacks are throwing to. In 2021, he only allowed 16 catches on 296 total passing snaps in 2021, as we mentioned. So 2021, he had a really good season, and in 28 career games, 94 tackles, 8 pass breakups, and 2 career interceptions. And from what I watched, I really only was able to watch some highlights. He's all over the football. Like the highlights they showed on NFL Network, and then I went and watched a few others. The dude is all over the football, and even whenever he may get beaten on a route, a receiver may run like a comeback route, and he looks like he's off balance a little bit, he does a very good job recovering, coming back to the football, and still being able to make a great play. He's really good at keeping things in front of him. So I think he's going to add a really good style of football to this Chiefs secondary that did kind of struggle last year. The Chiefs secondary was 27th in the NFL when it came to passing yards last year. And so he's going to be a really good player in the passing game. He's also going to make some impact in the rushing game and the Chiefs' run defense because he is very versatile. He makes great plays in rush defense. So he's going to be all over the field. He's really instinctive. He's around the football all the time. So that's going to bring another guy into this defense. He's going to be able to rally around the football and make great plays. And then you add him up with guys like Justin Reed, who the Chiefs signed this offseason, along with Rashad Fenton, who I think played some really solid football last year. L'Jarius Sneed, who I think putting those two together, I think is going to be one of the more underrated duos in the NFL. You look at L'Jarius Sneed, he's already a playmaker for that Chiefs defense. L'Jarius Sneed does everything for the Chiefs already. It feels like he's constantly making plays. So I think him and Trent McDuffie are going to make some very good plays together. And then you add Juan Thornhill, who I think that secondary that the Chiefs have right now, I think it's going to be a very good secondary. I liked the secondary before they added Trent McDuffie. Obviously it still needed that true number one lockdown corner, but I still was a fan of the Chiefs secondary before they got him. But now that the Chiefs do have a legitimate number one lockdown corner, I think they're in a very good spot heading into next season. I think this defense, with that one pick, secondary wise, is going to be a much better. But other than that, like, you look at the Chiefs, the guys who they're going to drop in coverage and during pass plays going into next season, I think the Chiefs are in a really good spot with the secondary right now. And I think the Chiefs, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, they hit very nicely with Trent McDuffie in the first round of this year's draft. But those are my thoughts on the Chiefs drafting Trent McDuffie. Give me your thoughts down below of what you think of Trent McDuffie. Do you like the pick? Do you not like the pick? How do you think he's going to impact the Chiefs? Give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.